Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. On the 24th of December each year, Santa prepares for one of the most important nights in his calendar, to deliver presents and Christmas joy around the world. Santa and his elves, they prepare for this night all year on. The reindeers, they've all been in training so that they're at their peak for this one night of work. But have you ever wondered, how does Santa actually get this all into one night? Well, the first thing is, although we say it's one night, when you actually look at it, he has 42 hours in which to deliver the presents. He starts his deliveries at the international date line, and this runs roughly through the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Now it's an imaginary line where the date changes. On one side is one date, and then if you step over it, then you move into the next date. His journey, it starts at sunset in Russia. Then Santa, he travels west around the world until his last delivery just before sunrise in Alaska. And that's a 42-hour journey for him and the reindeer. During this 42-hour period, Santa needs to visit about 1.6 billion homes around the world. Now this means he's got roughly 300 microseconds per house. Not a long time, is it? It doesn't take him long to drop the presents off. He's literally got to take them out of his sack and put them wherever they need to go. And then he moves on to the next home. To travel between houses, he has to move fast. He ends up travelling about 1% the speed of light. That's 1,367 miles per second, or roughly 2,200 kilometres per second. That's like going from London to Paris 5 times in 1 second. That's moving fast. To move this fast, the reindeers, they need to have a lot of fuel. And they get this fuel from 2 sources. The first is the food that's left out for them. And that helps them, that gives them that kick to get them going. Even that isn't enough for all this speed. So to help provide this extra fuel, the elves, they've adapted the reindeer's horns, and they've got a number of functions as well, one of which is to collect Christmas joy as they travel. And this Christmas joy, that turns into the additional fuel that they need to complete this annual trip. To let Santa travel so fast, the elves also had to look at some other issues. As the reindeer and sleigh travel, they generate friction between the sleigh and the atmosphere. Now this friction, it creates a lot of heat. And if they didn't do something about it, well, the sleigh, it would just burn up. So another adaptation that the elves have made to the reindeer's antlers, to their horns, is the ability to create a bubble in the space-time around Santa. And this does a number of things. The first one, it reduces the friction, so that means it's not generating as much heat. And the second one, this lets the reindeers open wormholes through space-time. And these wormholes, they let Santa quickly jump from one place to the other in no time at all. This wormhole idea, it came from the work of Albert Einstein, and he developed the theory of relativity. And the elves, they were able to use this theory to help Santa. Now, one part of this theory, it states that time moves at different rates for observers moving relative to one another. And as we all know, time moves very slowly for excited children on Christmas Eve. But Santa, well, he's able to travel at the speed of light. So the elves, they use this to let Santa get more time for his journey. Einstein also gave us the equation E equals mc squared. Now, to Einstein, this meant that an amount of energy is the mass of an object times the speed of light squared. But on Christmas Eve, the meaning of this equation changes completely. And the equation, it becomes Eve equals Merry Christmas squared. Now, we've already talked about how fast Santa needs to travel between each house. And at 1,360 miles per second, that's fast. This means that there's a large amount of acceleration and deceleration. This is the force that occurs when you're changing speed. Now imagine you're in a car When the car goes quickly from standstill to moving, you feel like you're being pushed back into your seat, and that's the acceleration force. The normal acceleration force on Earth is known as 1g. We never actually feel it because we're always experiencing it. But if we get an acceleration of above 9g, well, to be honest, that would kill most people. For Santa, he needs to be able to handle an acceleration force of over 1.5 billion g. That's an awful lot, isn't it? There's two ways that the elves have come up with to help address this issue. The first, that friction shield that the reindeer's antlers generate, well, that also helps to minimise the acceleration force. The second one is the elves. They've created a special suit that Santa wears underneath his red coat and trousers. Now, this suit is pressurised and it contains some technology that keeps Santa's blood flowing around his body. How can the sleigh carry so many presents? Well, that's something I've always wondered about. Santa doesn't need to carry all the presents anymore. He used to, but the elves, they've used their scientific knowledge and they've created a special wormhole inside of Santa's sack. So what he does, he reaches in and his hand actually goes through the wormhole and comes out into a distribution centre at the North Pole. And that's where the elves, they place the presents for each house into his hand, so he can then go and deliver them. So Santa, he's now at the right house, he's got the right presents. But how does he actually get into the house? Years ago, Santa needed to use a chimney and he would go down the chimney and into the house. But there's some good news. He no longer needs a chimney, which is good because a lot of houses nowadays don't even have them. Instead, he uses some more of the elves' scientific knowledge. Due to an effect called quantum tunneling, which is really advanced science area, Santa is able to pass through walls and roofs easily. Quantum tunneling, it uses a quantum physical effect to let things pass through solid objects. Think about it this way. You've got a ball and you're firing it at a wall. There is a finite chance that the ball will pass through that wall rather than bounce off it. And that chance is very, very small. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever actually seen it happen yet. But that doesn't mean it can't happen. And the elves, they've been able to take this effect and they've developed a way for Santa to control when things can pass through so that they can control this quantum effect. So when Santa needs to pass through a wall, the technology in his suit, well, that just lets him pass through that wall, and then the technology turns off as soon as he's inside the house. All of this elf-developed technology, along with their scientific knowledge, means Santa is able to deliver all the presents and still be back home at the North Pole in time to have breakfast with Mrs. Claus. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. This has been a fun one to do. Please drop a comment down below. Have you got any fun videos that I can be looking at in the future? Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.